This song is chauvinistic, sexist, overblown, pompous, pretentious. That's the opinion of many people about this song by Neil Young, which appeared on his most popular album of the 1970s, Harvest. The song in question is A Man Needs a Maid, and I'm here to tell you that actually those people are wrong, and it is in fact a great song. So I'm not going to be doing any mansplaining, maybe some maidplaining. Let's do a deep dive into this song. I believe it's one of his most misunderstood. A Man Needs a Maid was recorded in London at Barking Town Hall in 1971. Young was in London to film a TV special for the BBC and to play at the Royal Festival Hall at the end of February in 1971. And then on March the 1st, Neil Young and Jack Nietzsche got together with the London Symphony Orchestra. They set up at the Barking Town Hall and they recorded A Man Needs a Maid and There's a World, both of which later came out on the album Harvest, almost a year later. Young and the London Symphony Orchestra played live together, with Neil Young singing live. After hearing the playback in Glyn Johns' truck, where the pieces were recorded outside Barking Town Hall, Jack Nietzsche said, I think it's a bit overblown. Neil Young said, we knew it was over the top, but in a good way. A Man Needs a Maid and There's a World came out on the album in February 1972, and the album became Neil Young's biggest hit, and still is his biggest album to date. It topped the charts in the US for 2 weeks, spawned 2 hit singles, Heart of Gold and Old Man, the former of which was a #1 single. It was the best-selling album of 1972 in the United States. The album to this day remains Neil Young's best-selling album. This song still gets misunderstood to this day. Misunderstanding of this song starts, I believe, with the title before people have even heard the song. And this is often a problem that songwriters or artists in general face. People tend to take things at face value a lot. But good songs have so much more to them than what is presented on the surface. Young even talked about this before the song was even recorded, when he played it live at the Boston Music Hall in January 1971. He said, this is another new song, it's called A Man Needs a Maid. It's kind of, it doesn't really mean what it says, it's just the idea that anyone would think enough to say something like that would show that something else is happening. So don't take it personally when I say it, I don't really want a maid. It doesn't really mean what it says. That's a defining characteristic of a lot of songs, poems, films and novels. A lot of the everyday language that we use doesn't really mean what it says. Over here in the UK, for example, a common way of greeting somebody is just saying, you alright? Yeah, you alright? You alright? And we're not actually asking if the other person's alright. It's just a way of saying hello. So if he's not being literal, what is he saying with this song? Let's have a look. The song was written after Young split from his first wife, Susan. After the Gold Rush had come out, Young moved from his house in Topanga Canyon, where he'd been living with Susan, to his new ranch up in Northern California. A Man Needs a Maid was also inspired by Young's budding relationship with actress Carrie Snodgrass, whom, according to Wikipedia, he had contacted after seeing in a magazine. In the song, he falls in love with the actress he's watching in a movie. The movie in question could well have been The Diary of a Mad Housewife, which was released in 1970 and starred Carrie Snodgrass as a frustrated wife. She was nominated for the Best Actress Oscar and also won a Golden Globe for her performance. The film was released in August 1970, just at the same time when After the Gold Rush was coming out. At a Philadelphia concert in 2014, Young said that the song was also inspired by a light switch in a hotel he was staying at when he was on tour with CSNY. He said, "Maid is a word that's been hijacked. It doesn't mean what it means anymore. It's like a derogatory thing." He said, "A while ago when I was playing in London, I was in this hotel and there was this light switch on the wall. I walked over to it, but actually it turns out it wasn't a light switch. There was 2 buttons on it. The top one, it said man, and then the bottom one, you pressed for a maid." He said, "I went immediately over to the piano and started writing the song." He also said that when he wrote the song, it was a medley with Heart of Gold. The two went together. You can hear this pre-Harvest medley version on the album Live at Massey Hall, which was recorded early in 1971 but released in recent years. And this is the version that gives a lot of hints about the true nature of this song. He says in the intro to the song, it's a Broadway musical. Some people look at their life and say, my life's like a movie, and they talk about what scenes went down. In some movies there's tunes, and this is like a show tune from my movie. And this actually makes the overblown production of the song make sense. It's a big Broadway number, a scene in the musical of Young's life. In this early version as well, the first chorus is different. He actually sings on this version, afraid. A man feels afraid. So the original chorus there spells it all out for us. Perhaps a little too on the nose, which is maybe why he chose to drop that for the recorded version on Harvest. The second chorus on this Massey Hall version is a maid. A man needs a maid. In the song it comes after the line about the actress playing a part that he could understand. And to me this is the heart of the song. In the midst of his fear, unable to deal with the actual complexities of real adult humans, the singer of the song here is yearning for something much simpler, an idealized person playing a role without emotional baggage. The fact that this was a medley with Heart of Gold is really interesting. It's probably why Heart of Gold immediately follows A Man Needs a Maid on the album. There are some similarities between the two songs. They both emphasise in the lyrics living and giving. To live a love, you've got to give a love. I want to live, I want to give, from Heart of Gold. In A Man Needs a Maid, he's admitting that he can't give. He's giving up. He's too afraid. Maybe I'll just get a maid or whatever. Heart of Gold is the optimistic flip side of this paradigm. He's declaring, actually, I do want to live and I do want to give, as long as it's with a good person. And those who cry sexism at A Man Needs a Maid need to take into account this second song, Heart of Gold, which was written originally as part of the first song. They should examine in Heart of Gold the complete lack of gender-specific language. This to me is a big heads up to say, guess what, Neil Young's not actually sexist. Maybe if he was, Heart of Gold would go something more like this. I want to live, I want to give, I've been searching for a proper wife to stay at home and cook and clean while I go out cheating and doing drugs with my mates and stuff. The singer Rumer had a really good article published in The Guardian back in 2003 about this song, and I will quote it at length here. Rumer points out that Neil Young recorded this song when he was still recovering from a major back injury and he couldn't stand up to play the guitar. He was bedridden a lot of the time. So she points out, on a literal level, the song is about not being able to take care of yourself anymore. The connotations of the word maid did lead to allegations of sexism at the time, but she says, I think that was narrow-minded. A Man Needs a Maid feels like the opposite of sexist to me. And she says, Young is saying he actually respects women too much to even have a relationship at this point, because he realises that he's just not capable of giving someone what they need. The character simply can't reconcile loving someone with his creative ministry, and so A Man Needs a Maid is really the portrait of a lonely man on a mission, unable to give anything. In fact, he's desperate for help, like a beggar going from door to door. So there's another good analysis of this song as well on the amazing website Thrasher's Wheat, which is an amazing resource that's been on the web since the 90s. This article was on there about this song, and it's written by someone called Roger N. They said, I read A Man Needs a Maid as someone trying to convince himself that he needs only material support. In other words, he's trying to convince himself that having a person cook and clean for him is enough. This is a coping mechanism so that he can disengage and not feel wounded from his past relationship. Therefore, the chorus is not the reliable, true voice of the persona Neil Young has created for this song. The real voice is the person who says, to live a love you have to be part of. Because this truth is painful, perhaps due to one's failure to live up to this sentiment, a perfunctory or crude sentiment like, a man needs a maid, is a coping mechanism for keeping this realization at bay. So how do we know which is the true voice and which is the true feeling and which is not? Look at the phrasing. Neil uses language like, I was thinking maybe I'd get a maid. You couldn't get any less resolute than that. Meanwhile, the other sentiments, to live a love, you have to give a love, are spoken with much more certitude. The song as a whole reflects a struggle between engagement and disengagement. The thought that all a man needs is a maid is merely a method for convincing oneself that material support is all one needs, that detachment is the best course for dealing with relationships so as to not get hurt, even though what the narrator really knows is that it takes engagement and giving of oneself to make the relationship work. It's a much more complex song than people give credit for, largely for their failure to see the psychological dynamic that is going on. To read this as a sexist song is to disregard Neil's artistic skill in creating a voice that seems to be saying one thing on the surface but really means another thing altogether. And he also says anyone who's gone through a tough time in a relationship will be able to relate to the mood of this piece and how it shows the way we try to convince ourselves of one sentiment even when we know the opposite is true. I agree that I don't think the song is sexist at all. In fact, I think it's the opposite of sexist. It's betraying his own weakness as a man at this point in his life. In his heartbreak, he thinks that maybe he'll get a maid. That word maybe is an important part of the song. Maybe this whole song is just a passing thought, a moment in his life. Maybe this thought will only last a few minutes. Maybe it lasted less than that. Maybe it lasted a bit longer, but he chose to capture that moment in the song. What he's doing with this is confessing that he's trying to avoid emotional commitment to protect himself. The maid is a symbol that appeals to the singer of this song, a symbol that's a substitute for a real relationship, offering the basics that he needs to function, but without a genuine human connection, which would be far too emotionally risky for this man, who simply does not want to face up to a real relationship with a real woman at this point. That's the heart of the song. It's a frank admission of male weakness, not at all sexist or chauvinistic. To illustrate this further, try and imagine the roles reversed. If it was sung by a female singer singing about wanting a man around the house to do jobs for her and then go away, a woman needs a gardener or a handyman. Maybe not, but you see what I'm saying. The point of the song is to reveal the singer's weakness, vulnerability and sadness in their pathetic state, trying to hide from their problems rather than face them head on. One of the reasons why this point of the song may have been lost on some people is, I think, because of the arrangement of the song. Very grandiose, which, as we've seen, is probably because Neil Young saw it as a Broadway musical song, so he was trying to recreate that. The version on Massey Hall delivers the true meaning and feel of the song probably better than the Harvest version. The Massey Hall version is just solo at the piano with his voice, and that version reveals the desperation, fear and loneliness underlying the song, like no other version does. This is a great lesson in why you should never take songs at face value. Ask yourself instead why the singer is singing those particular words. What situation must they be in that they would even think of singing those particular words? That situation that they're in, that situation is what the song is really about. Let me know your opinion in the comments. Is it completely sexist? No, it's not. But let me know what you think in the comments below, or don't. It's up to you. I don't mind. I was lucky enough to perform this song at Barking Town Hall to commemorate that time when they recorded those songs at Barking Town Hall, which is now called the Broadway at Barking. It's now a theatre. It was a great honour and very nerve-wracking, and you can see the video on this channel. I'll put the link in the description. It was a great day, and also we got to meet Billy Bragg, who was there, and he unveiled a plaque commemorating the anniversary of the recording of those songs. It's not every day you get the opportunity to perform a Neil Young song in the exact venue that it was originally recorded, so that was incredible. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give us a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video. But that's all from me on this one. Bye for now. When will I see you?